Hello, welcome to the meat shop. Thanks for clicking on. In this video, we're gonna find out, is it worth it to make your own beef jerky at home, or should you just buy it? We're gonna see what effort it takes to make some jerky, how much it costs to buy the muscles, and how much you end up with at the end versus what you could buy. So, stick around for the whole video and we'll find out, is it better to make your own or should you just buy it? All right, so you heard the goal. Can we make jerky cheaper and better than we can buy jerky? I'm not going to go into a bunch of depth because I do have a beef jerky video that I do go into depth on beef jerky. But basically the muscles you want to make beef jerky out of, they're not your prime cuts. They're usually cuts off of the hip. So that's something like an inside round, an outside round, or an eye of round. Sometimes you get sirloin tips. But usually it's the first three, inside, outside, or eye of round. So I headed off to a wholesale store yesterday. I want to get it where you guys are going to get it, not my wholesale stuff. So I just popped in and we'll see what I ended up with right now.
Okay, here are your options. You have eye of round, outside rounds, and inside rounds. The inside rounds take a little bit more trimming. Outside rounds are usually the cheapest muscle, bang for your buck, but the easiest for sure is the eye of round. So we're gonna go with the eye of round today, and that's what we're gonna make our judgment off. One eye around, $32, $13 a kilogram, $6.50 a pound.
Okay, so there you have it. Those muscles are pretty readily available at wholesale stores. We went with the eye of round because it's easiest to trim, and so we're gonna see how much jerky we get out of this for 32 bucks versus how much you can buy in a store for 32 bucks. Alternatively, if you don't want to trim or anything, you can get these. These are denuded eye of rounds. They also make denuded outsides and inside rounds. You might have to get them from your butcher shop, but basically you can see that's the top. It has no fat versus the top has fat. This one's been trimmed for you at a time, and I'll explain to you why that's important. Pop that other denuded eye back in the fridge because it's good to keep your meat cold. But it's good to trim, or you have to trim, the outside of the fat and the silver skin and connective tissue off. Otherwise, in the dehydration process, what is tough gets tougher, basically. You want a nice lean muscle, like all those hip muscles. So, next step for us in our homemade jerky venture is to take this eye of round, and we're gonna knock off, see that kind of silver skin, that fat, we're gonna clean it up. I just gotta remember the price, 32. Let's round, yeah, 32 bucks. So for this step, you just need a sharp butcher's knife, and you just get just under the skin, leaving as much meat on that muscle as possible. Okay, and voila, we have denuded, our own eye of round. There's no big heavy bits of silver skin or connective tissue. As you can see here, a very nice lean piece of meat is what you're shooting for. And you can see over here, that's our little waste pile. Not too much, not too bad. And this is just silver skin and fat. You could save that fat if you're wanting to make some sausage down the road, but I don't need to in the near future, so I'm not gonna bother. Now there's two ways to slice jerky. You can either slice jerky with the grain or against the grain. I'll show you how to do that in a second. I'm just going to cut it in half, and I'm going to cut it in half with this scimitar or staking knife. This is probably the best knife for making jerkies, big long strokes, because you want to get your jerky slices as consistent as possible. Unless you have a slicer, you can use a slicer at home. I don't know if all of you do those, so we're going to use a knife today. So this is what against or with the grain means. So you can see on this piece of meat, there's those lines that run this way. You can sort of see that. That is the grain. So if you were to slice with the grain, we would slice this way. That's going to make your jerky a little bit more chewy, kind of have that rip and tear and bite to it. Versus, if you wanted to cut against the grain, now you can see on the face of this muscle, all those little islands, that means you've cut against the grain. It's going to make your jerky a little bit more tender, a little easier to chew. Those are your two options. I am today going to go with the grain because that's how we make all our store in the jerky. I like that rip and tear and bite. You kind of want to slice roughly a 1/4 inch thick as consistently as you possibly can for this whole piece. So I'm going to go ahead and slice it up. Perfect, we have most of the jerky sliced. Just a little tip, when you get down to the last piece here that's too thick to call jerky yet, what I usually do is I just set it flat against the table, switch back to my little boning knife, and I kind of, with these two fingers, keep pressure on it so it doesn't move, and with the knife I just push forward, kind of like filleting a fish. Keep your knife about a 1/4 inch off the table, and that way you can get nice little slices. There's our pile of to-be jerky meat. Now we need to get the weight off of it, mix up our recipe, allow it to marinate overnight, and then we're gonna smoke it tomorrow. So we have 1.8 kgs or 4.2 pounds. I have given the recipe before, so I'll do this real quick. It is also typed out in the description down below, but I know some of you guys like it read to you. So it is salt, 15 grams per kilogram, black pepper, 3 grams per kilogram, brown sugar, 14 grams per kilogram, California ham spice, 1 gram per kilogram, garlic powder, 0.5 grams per kilogram, liquid smoke, 0.3 grams per kilogram, cure, 3 grams per kilogram, sodium erythorbate, 1.5 grams per kilogram, and water, 90 grams per kilogram. So I'm gonna get that whipped up. I multiply all those by 1.8 to get the appropriate amount of seasonings for this jerky. Great, so now we have just the right amount of spice for this amount of jerky. Apply to the mass of meat here. Add our water and liquid smoke. I usually add the liquid smoke to the water because a concentration of liquid smoke is quite bitter. Then you just mix it thoroughly so that all the surfaces of these muscle, this is whole muscle jerky, get covered. Then we're gonna pop it into the refrigerator overnight. So at least 12 hours, up to 24, so that the cure and spices penetrate all the way through these muscles. Okay, there is our to-be jerky mass. You can see I just freshly mixed this. The color of the meat is still quite red. Tomorrow, all these slices of meat will be kind of a gray color. That means they've been cured. So off to the cooler we go and smoking tomorrow. All right, 24 hours has gone by, so let's go into the cooler, check on the jerky, pull it out, get ready to smoke it.
So annoyingly enough, between me walking into the cooler and grabbing this meat, my mic had come unplugged. But there's a bunch of different jerkies you guys haven't seen yet. If you haven't seen those videos, go find them on the channel. We're just popping in, checking on the jerky. You can see that great color, looks nice and cured, ready to get onto the racks and smoked. Okay, so the jerky's out of the cooler. You can see our little racking set up here. We're gonna use. I give the jerky a toss here one last time to distribute those spices and have every piece evenly kind of moist. Today we're going to stick them in the Pit Boss Brunswick. I thought that would make it a little more relatable for the home smoked sausage versus using our commercial smoker, since it is the homemade versus store-bought stuff. You guys got to be able to make it at home, and you more than likely have something like a Pit Boss or a Traeger pellet smoker instead of a commercial smoker. Those are the trays, the black ones that came with the Pit Boss, and these are trays you can pick up and buy anywhere. The nice part about those is they're very close together and you won't have to worry about jerky falling off the racks. I shouldn't say you can buy them anywhere, you can buy them at food supply stores. Little tip for you is to use a boatload of vegetable spray on your racks. It's going to make it significantly easier for you to pull your jerky off afterwards, irregardless of the type you're using. Give it a nice heavy coat. Alright, once your racks are nice and oiled, what you want to do is take your pieces of jerky and lay them out so that no pieces are touching one another and the jerky is not folded over on itself, leaving a little bit of space between each piece so that air and smoke can circulate through. And there you go, that's what a full rack should look like. Now just rinse and repeat till all your racks are full.
All right, all the jerky's racked up. It's gonna go into the Brunswick, this little vertical pellet smoker. Excited to try it out. I've got it set at 150, preheated it to 150, and make a note, I opened up the damper all the way. I'm not sure every pellet smoker is probably gonna be a little bit different, but we're aiming to dehydrate these. We wanna lose some moisture, so you want the vents, if your pellet smoker has them, to be wide open. All right, they're all in there. I think this was 1.9 kilograms, 4-ish pounds. And I'm guessing you could probably get about 6 pounds in this thing if you had it fully loaded. Mind you, if you fully load a smokehouse, so you have to think about, you have more volume in there, there's gonna be more humidity, you might have to extend your times. Speaking of times, I'm gonna run it like I run my Pro Smoker. Hour at 150, hour at 155, hour at 160, then hour at 155 again. And I'll check on it at the end because I'm not sure if that's enough. Might take a little longer, might want to go a little warmer. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay, there we go. The jerky's looking really good. Nice looking stuff coming out of the pit boss. Dehydrated all the way through. Bends but it doesn't break. Okay, and to get this done, it actually took a little bit longer than I thought. The 150 setting would dip down to 140, so I smoked it for most of the time at the 160, 170 setting. It'd kind of creep up to 165, 175, and then coast for a while. And all said and done, it was about 5.5 hours to get it dried out like this. Now it's time to get it in a tin and weigh it up and see what we got for an end product. We are up and at it first thing in the morning. Today's the day. The results will be in on is it better to buy jerky or make your own at home. I have the homemade jerky right here, and I have a little bit of stuff set aside for us to do our measurement slash judgment. And how we're gonna make that measurement slash judgment is I hopped online last night, searched a couple stores, actually 4 stores from around my area, and the average price they're selling beef jerky for is $78 a kilogram, or $35 per pound. So I've gone and I've set aside, this is $33 and change, which means, and our eye of round was $32. So if we have more jerky in here than we have in these 3 bags, we win. It's better, cheaper anyways to make jerky at home. So let's weigh these up on the scale. Okay, and so to be clear, this is 420 grams or just about exactly a pound. So we'll see what we get out of this. This has to equal more than that for it to be a better value. And I'm halfway in and I'm sure it's gonna be a better, oh, there we go, better. So this here is now all bonus. I need a bigger container. That's a good problem, you need a bigger container. All right, and it's zeroed. So let's see what we got here. All right, 991 grams, 92 grams. That is just about 2 pounds, 454. Yes, that's over 2 pounds. So making jerky at home, twice the value. Okay, so there it is. The results are in. If you're making it at home, buying the meat yourself, you're getting twice as much meat as if you are when you're buying it from the store. The only thing I didn't factor in is your time and a little bit of pellets and effort, but for the most part, you can basically double it. You get double the amount of jerky when you make it at home. I hope you guys make some at home. I hope you found this useful, the information valuable. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thanks for watching, guys. Now, I can finally have a piece of this jerky. I didn't want to mess with the weights before. Thanks for watching. And it's good.